Welcome to my talk, and I want to start it. Maybe you've noticed that I actually specifically asked for a very interesting song to accompany me on stage. It's about being perfect. It's a good song, by the way. But I want to ask you to just maybe take a moment and ask yourself, what does it mean to be perfect? And I know perfection is usually attributed to women, but actually men also have their version of perfectionism, which is about being strong, about being successful. So we all have a version of what it means to be perfect. What does it mean to be the best version of yourself? When does it happen? What if you are the best version of yourself right now? What are you going to do for the rest of your life? I'm going to be asking a lot of questions because I actually don't believe in teaching per se. It might sound a little funny coming from a co-founder of Mindvalley. I believe that transformation happens through curiosity, through asking questions, because curiosity keeps you open for change. Dry, raw knowledge is often useless. So I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions, and I hope you play along with me. And, you know, we all, as I said, we all have the picture of perfection in our head. Because having been in personal growth and transformation for about 20 years, I know that one thing that brings people here is the desire to become better, to change something. After all, we are a personal growth company, right? Who here is trying to become a better version of yourself? Oh, I'm glad to see that, thank you. Then I have a second question for you. Are you ready to love yourself before you become perfect? Yeah, let's talk about love, shall we? You know, I love analogies. In romantic relationships, when you fall in love, usually you have a picture of what it means to be a perfect romantic partner, or what kind of perfect romantic partner you like, you want. And when we fall in love, we usually are in the process where that person that we like seems to be ticking all the right boxes. And of course, our hormones, the mess that we are experiencing in our hormones, is helping along the process, and also probably the prospective lover is also behaving really well for you to like them. But we tick the boxes, and everything that doesn't match the picture of perfection, we either ignore it or we explain it, excuse it. So we keep falling in love with an idea rather than a real person. Of course, with time, hormones subside, our emotions subside, and we see the real person for what they are. With their flaws, scratches, dents. I like to call them dragons, the person the way they really are. And then we have a choice. We either keep loving that person the way they are, or we feel disillusioned. In loving yourself, there's often a very similar phenomenon. We love ourselves to the point that we correspond the picture of perfection. And the further we are, the further the real you is from the picture of perfection, the harder it is to love it. We do say that we are ready to love ourselves, but from early age we are taught that love has to be earned. I like to say that the road to health is paved with good intentions, and it is truly so. Oftentimes it's our loving parents, and I have done that too, that's why I'm saying. If you have a child, you maybe will relate. If you don't have a child, you have students or someone who is in your care, you might relate. When a child does something good, we say, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. You're so awesome. You're the best child, and we give love. And when the child doesn't behave, doesn't listen to our advice, makes a mistake, we often withdraw love. Not really, but we show it this way. Oh, you misbehaved. Mommy is upset. And being upset, part of being upset is withdrawing love. And we are taught that since very early age. And not surprising, when we grow up, we do that to ourselves. Of course, I love myself. I eat well. I exercise, I take care of myself, I love myself. But what about a party last Friday? What if you didn't take care of your body? What did you think of yourself? Were you ready to give love to yourself when you were not perfect? When you were less than perfect? You see, we learn to haggle for our love. We learn it from childhood, and we do that to ourselves all our lives. One thing I want to share with you is that love doesn't need to be earned. And there's a difference between self-care and self-love. Self-care is ritualistic. And it's easy to substitute self-love with self-care, rather than actually essentially loving yourself, caring for yourself, and saying that self-care is the love. But what if you fall? What if you err? Can you still love yourself? So, why is it important to learn to love yourself first? I believe that we train the world. Here, I have a slide. I believe that you teach the world how the world is going to treat you. Who decides if you're a professional? Let's say I'm on stage. Who decides that I'm a professional speaker on par with everyone else who has been here? Is it you or is it me? I've been in personal growth for 20 years. I've seen countless of speakers on stage. You know what makes some speaker seem like really strong, good professional speaker? It's what they think of themselves. Not the amount of books they've published, not the millions of people they've helped. It's actually how they feel. You wear your opinion about yourself like clothing. Women will relate to that. I do not know if men have that, but maybe tell me, women, if you relate to that. Sometimes we wear really sexy underwear. It's super sexy. Nobody can see it. But we feel like a queen. I do not know what men do for that, but I know that people don't even have to see anything different in you, but you feel different and the world takes you different. I believe that we train the world how to treat us. So self-love is really about, teaching the world to love you too. You cannot expect the world to accept you, to love you, to respect you, unless you learn to do that to yourself. And of course, this talk wouldn't be my talk if I didn't make you do a little bit of mental exercise. Are you guys ready for that? Yes. Good. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax. Relax physically. Feel how relaxed you are. Relax your face, your eyes. Put a little smile on your face. It helps to relax physically. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, just remind yourself that you're in a safe place. You're safe. And now I want you to bring to your memory last time when you maybe were less than perfect. Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you lashed out at someone that you love. Maybe you were unfair. Maybe you failed. Maybe you, maybe somebody criticized you. You didn't like how you showed up. Maybe you felt shame. Bring up that moment. Remember it, recreate it. What did you feel in that moment? Maybe you felt shame. Maybe you felt irritation, even anger with yourself, whatever it was. And now think of the self-talk you had in that moment. What did you say to yourself? For example, I just learned riding a bike. And sometimes when I go on a bike, I still fail. And then I tell myself, God, you still haven't learned it after all this time? What was your self-talk? Remind yourself of your self-talk. Did you ask yourself what's wrong with you? Why are you so clumsy? Why are you so stupid? Remind yourself of that self-talk. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax. Now I want you to open your eyes. And I want you to write down your self-talk in your diary right now. Take it, or your notebook, take a clean page and just write it down. It doesn't have to be long. You can just write down a few sentences. Okay, my friends, I want to ask you now to put aside your self-talk and close your eyes once again. Closing eyes really helps, actually. We can't talk when we close our eyes, apparently. Or at least we can't read. I want you to close the eyes again and take a deep breath and exhale. And just relax. You don't need to be social and giggle and keep it in. Just relax and reflect on what you just heard. How did it feel hearing your own self-talk being told back to you? Now imagine you saying this thing, not to a relative stranger, but to someone that you really love. Talking like this to someone that you really love. Maybe it's your child, your lover, your partner, your parent. Imagine that person who really loves you or who you really love saying this to you. Not just your exercise partner today, but someone that you really love. Imagine this being said to you by a person who is supposed to love you unconditionally. When you're perfect and when you're imperfect. Imagine this being said to you by the only person whose love you can reasonably ask for. I'm talking about you. I can tell you one thing. It's very easy to stop being mean to yourself. Just make a decision to stop being mean to yourself and to stop talking to yourself like you're your worst enemy. It's very easy to decide to be your cheerleader, your own cheerleader, your biggest fan, your biggest support. Would you talk like that to someone that you truly love? Would you be so mean for such nonsense to someone that you really love? Take a deep breath and breathe out. And as you breathe out, relax. Relax that part of the body which you feel tense in right now. If it's in your chest or your stomach, just tell yourself relax physically and breathe. Physical relaxation allows us to let go of our emotions. It is fine. It's your choice, only your choice to be nice to yourself. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, relax. And when you're ready, you can come back. I will go quite fast, I'm sorry. I would like to make it into meditation about self-love, but this was just an exercise to reflect on how we truly treat ourselves. And then we say that we love ourselves. And we replace love with just taking care of our bodies. So, because we are so obsessed with being perfect, we learn to negotiate for our own love because we think that we deserve love only when we are perfect and none else. But that would be half the problem. The other half of the problem is that our obsession with perfectionism creates the dark side. The dark side that we come to heal afterwards. How does it happen? You know, we have this picture of perfection. I'm supposed to be like this. And every time I'm not like this, I feel uncomfortable. Well, it's called cognitive dissonance. Whenever we feel cognitive dissonance, we don't know what to do with these things, these strange feelings, emotions. So we push them aside, we sweep them under the rug, we push them in the darkest corner of our psyche, hoping that they're going to disappear. Sorry. It's very easy to recreate such moments. For example, as a person who is supposedly very enlightened and educated and probably patient, I shouldn't dislike this human being. It's not me being, it's not me being so low as disliking someone. I'm just concerned about you. I'm not angry. I just have very high standards. I'm not upset. You're being dramatic. Does it ring a bell? I cannot be depressed. Let me fix it. Let me fix my, physiology, and maybe my mood will match up to that. The wrong, and I'm using that, of course, not directly, but the wrong feelings that we feel, the wrong thoughts that we think, even the wrong actions that we do, we push them aside. We refuse to deal with them because they don't fit our picture of perfection. And then that darkness in the corner keeps growing. And what is in that darkness? What kind of dragons are hiding themselves there? What do you do with them? Do you think they're going to disappear just because we use the ostrich method? We put the head in the sand and then they will be gone? It doesn't work like that. In psychology, it's called emotional leakage. All these things which we don't work with, which we refuse to accept because they are not the perfect vision of me, the better version of me. They're going to explode one moment, explode when we least expect it, and when it's least appropriate. So, obsession with perfectionism creates the dark side. And then we come and we need to heal it. I was about 40 years old when I came to a very simple conclusion. I cannot shame myself out of being myself. Just because I feel shame, just because I'm mean to myself, doesn't change the essence of what I am. I am what I am. So the point is actually not to eradicate your imperfections, but to find peace with them. And those who have been in my previous talk, you know that I have a little passion for Marvel movies. So I'll stick to my traditions, and I'll show you a little bit of a Marvel movie again, a tiny bit. So it's going to be X-Men again, first class. Who of you guys have seen X-Men? Yay. They have a wonderful character there, Mystique. She's blue and scaly. And she can take any shape. So what she does is she takes the shape of a beautiful blonde woman played by Jennifer Lawrence. And that's how she appears through half the movie. So this is a little episode which I think is absolutely genius. And I believe it's going to be cut out of my speech again in the official video.
If you're using half your concentration to look normal, then you're only half paying attention to whatever else you're doing. Just pointing out something that could save your life. You want society to accept you, but you can't even accept yourself.
It's literally this little episode, but he says in the beginning, I know the voice was a little off, if you are using half of your concentration to look normal, you're only paying half attention to what matters. If you're using all your concentration to look something that the society wants you to be like, that your peers want you to be like, that maybe you want yourself to be like, you're taking this energy away from something that might matter, that might save your life. So, I've been teaching self-love for quite a few years now. And one of the most common objections that I hear is, but isn't moderate level of self-criticism healthy? We think that we criticize ourselves out of best intentions because we want to be better, right? So you have to criticize yourself. You have to be objective, realistic. So there are two ways to raise children, and I love comparing self-love to loving children because I believe that the most natural and the easiest way for us to experience unconditional love is when you have your children, and if you're more or less sane parent, because I've seen parents who don't love their children, but imagine. And if you don't have children, maybe you have pets, plants, whatever you love unconditionally. There are two ways to raise children. I was born in Soviet Union. I was actually full on in Soviet Union, and Soviet Union was known for enforcement methods. So if you know sports, you know that Soviet sports were quite high standard. Soviet Union had a lot of Olympic champions. And how it worked, it was very simple. There was an institution called Olympic Reserves. They plucked really young kids, they took them into the Olympic Reserves, and something is making sound, is it okay? So they plucked young kids, they took them to the Olympic Reserves, and they built Olympians. And when I was 4 years old, it was 81, they came and they picked me in kindergarten for the Olympic Reserves for gymnastics, because I had a great potential. And I swear to you, this is probably one of the earliest memories I have in my life, this training. They forced me into split right away. It was a mincing machine because they were creating Olympians. So I cried and I begged my mom never to take me to that training again. So the next year when they came and they picked me up for figure skating, because obviously I had potential, my mom said, no, we've tried already. So you might say I was a failure, because I was. I didn't last the mincing machine, so I didn't become an Olympian. I became a speaker instead. Thank you. I was a failure in sports, to the point that when I studied in school, I had straight A's in everything except physical education. I still struggle with sports. It's a trauma I'm carrying for the rest of my life. So when we talk about punishment, hard work, discipline, sacrifices as the only way to success, it is because we judge by the very few who have survived, and we disregard the waste material, which I am. In sports, I'm the waste material, and there's a lot of waste material. If you've seen Soviet Olympic sports, there were people who broke, and they were discarded. And we idealize punishment, hard criticism, being hard on yourself as the only way to success, because we only look at people who have succeeded. But most of us won't be at that level. Most of us, in one level or another, will be a waste material. There's another way to raise children, through encouragement. Oh my God, you're doing so well. It's so cool. Do you want to try higher? You fell? Never mind. I still love you. You failed? I still love you. Because failure is not the reason to not love you. Actually, encouragement also produces champions. I do not know, I haven't checked the statistics more or less, but one thing I know for sure, it doesn't produce waste material in its wake. Sorry, I got passionate, I forgot what I was supposed to say. What I want to tell you guys, I want to beg you to stop fixing yourself. Because fixing implies that you're broken, which you're not. I suggest that if you approach to becoming better, you approach from the point of view of healing, not fixing. You're not wrong, you're not broken. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with any one of us, maybe except Putin. He's the only exception. Sorry, had to throw it in. But you guys are not broken, and you don't need fixing. You might need healing on your own terms when you're ready for that. Healing assumes that you are human and you have had human experience. And that's why I'm such a proponent of encouragement rather than punishment in personal growth and transformation, of kindness and compassion rather than harsh criticism. Imagine if you could put all your effort in your life into things that matter. You know, when I was in school, I was a perfect straight-A student, so I might not bring this example to the point, but you probably will relate. When my mom went to school, she was told, oh, Kristina is doing well in all those subjects, but here she's not doing so well. Maybe she should put more effort into things that she doesn't like. Imagine if they said, Kristina is doing so well and she really loves physics. What if she puts more effort into something she really loves? It's called the green marker and the red marker technique. Red marker is when you're pointed to your flaws. to things you have to fix to become better, to become perfect. Green marker is when you are pointed to the things where you're good at right now. Imagine if in your life, rather than pretending to be a perfect version of something, pleasing the world, pleasing your peers, pleasing yourself, you could actually let it all be and focus on the things that matter, that actually you love, that you're good at. You know, I want to share, of course I told you that this talk is about imperfection as a superpower, right? The power of imperfection. And so far what I've been talking about is, you know, how to accept yourself with your dragons. Actually, to really master that, you have to turn your dragons into your strengths, your flaws into your strengths. And that might be the hard job. So I want to share a story of a friend who unfortunately had passed already, Sean Stevenson. He was a psychotherapist, a really brilliant speaker, one of the best speakers I've ever seen on stage. And he was born with a very rare genetic condition. His bones were breaking, so obviously all the time. He couldn't even put on a jacket without breaking a bone. So obviously his life was hard, and he had a lot of really hard moments. So I can't tell his story for him, unfortunately. But this phrase that you see on the screen right now, it comes from his mother. In one of those moments where Sean was feeling a victim, asking himself, what's wrong with me? Why is it happening to me? His mom turned to him and said, Sean, are you going to make it your curse or your blessing? We all have our dragons. Are we going to keep them as our curse? Are we going to turn them to our blessing? I have an odd accent. So odd that I have people walk out of my meditation saying they can't take me. I've had so many insecurities about speaking. I'm obstinate as hell. I've taken trainings of public speaking with the best speakers on planet Earth because, well, I am a co-founder of Mindvalley, I have this opportunity. Yet, I can't force myself to be another speaker A or another speaker B because I'm obstinate. You know, if you've been to my last session, you know how I see the world. I see it anatomically, split into pieces, and then, you know, I create connections and causalities. When I sit at the back of the room, looking at the speakers on this stage, best speakers in the world, for the past 20 years I've been doing that, I can see what's going on stage, yet I come on stage and I am myself. And I know what to do, I just refuse. I'm obstinate, I'm emotional, I'm too much in my head, over-analytic. These are all my dragons. And I feel so conscious about them. And then, once I was about to go on stage, it was a very important event. I had 800 people in the room. For me, it's a lot. And I remember I was so nervous, I forgot how to breathe. So I actually went outside to get some more oxygen so that I could breathe and get myself together. And then this woman passes by, and she comes to me and she says, oh my God, it's you, Kristina. Your talk is the one that I expect the most. Because when I hear you talk, I feel as if I'm talking to myself. My relatability, the fact that I don't have a best-selling book yet, or a lot of accolades, my odd accent, my overthinking, my emotionalness. And at that moment, I suddenly realized that all those flaws and all those dragons, all those things that I'm ashamed of, that make me feel less than, are actually what give me the value. Can you just accept that the things that make you cringe and feel uncomfortable about yourself are the things that make you you? Imagine the world with perfect people around. If everyone was perfect like a Stepford wife, what would we have to learn from that? And it's not about learning. It's you failing and overcoming is what gives you the lessons in life. What teaches you to solve problems. And I'm not talking just about speaking on stage. Can you turn your dragons into your friends and to see that they're not your curse, they can become your blessing if you allow yourself? That's what I call loving yourself unconditionally. That's what I call self-love. Not the healthy eating. I'm sorry, and I am for healthy eating. And not exercising and walking and meditating. This is all good, that's important. You don't charge your phone out of love for this device. You charge it for survival. You take care of yourself to survive. Loving is something different. Loving is your relationship. Even if your battery is flat, can you still love yourself before you're perfect? So the last thing I want to leave you with, and I have about 15 minutes, which we'll use for question and answer, is that the world doesn't need your perfection. Nobody needs your perfection. What is there to see in perfection? Well, the world needs the real you. And your first obligation is to learn to love and accept yourself the way you are, to see the value in what you are, because then you have that value to give to the world. Thank you.